Aicochel CMCA Asa Eucalypton, Chilea San Laquangan. ACM New Chelita, ACM New Schwalaqua, Haishqua Quansana Techel Laquagan Tanach, Haishqua CM Naquilia. And that's a traditional language of our people, the Laquagan dialect. Good morning, my friends and family. My name is Butch Stick. I'm from the Songhees Nation, the land of the Laquangan people. And I would like to express a gratitude to the Greater Victoria School District for recognizing the traditional territory. This used to be the territory where other neighboring nations came to harvest herring and smoke herring before they returned to their land. And Laquagan Tanuk just means the land of the Laquagan people. So we thank you very much for this opportunity, expressing gratitude for people that come to our territory and visit our territory. And we always lift up our hands to Haishkwasiem.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. The Greater Victoria School District is excited to be able to host this opportunity. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tammy Renyard, and I'm a principal in the Greater Victoria School District. I'd like to thank John Hamlin and John Harris, who helped put that video together featuring Butch Stick. We're so fortunate to live and learn where we do in Victoria. Over this year, we're going to create some space where we can come together to talk about learning and our learners in the middle years. We're super grateful to have Dr. Leighton Schneller back to lead us in this provincial and beyond. We have folks joining us from other provinces and outside of Canada even, so thank you. We hope that you can join us for all of the sessions coming up, and we just want to let you know all sessions will be archived on our website and information will be shared with you. The last year sessions are also available if folks want to go back and have a look. So great to have so many people join us for this conversation. I know in Victoria, we're grateful to be able to learn within our district and with you out there across the province and beyond. So without further ado, Dr. Leighton Schneller.
Thank you for that wave. Awesome. So folks, we invite you to have your cameras on if you can, just for that sense of community. This really is a happening, a gathering, as we say in the Coots. That's the Kootenais for those of you not from the east part of the province. Please mute yourself if you're not talking. Otherwise, Dave will probably just mute you himself. And you probably want a pen or a paper or something just to take some notes on as we go. We'll be using online liberating structures embedded in the series, just like we did for our spring session last year. And you're welcome to use the chat at any time. Just remember it's public. So whatever you want to share, just, everybody gets to see it. If you'd like to join a French immersion breakout group when we go to breakout groups, you can change your name and put FI before your name. And that way Madeline, when she puts us into breakout groups, can do that. But French immersion folks, you're welcome to go into any group if you want. Just if you want to be in a French group in French, en français, this is your opportunity. Okay, people, here we go. Feel the excitement. Can you believe it's happening? I can't believe it. Okay. So peeps in the house, this is year 2. Whoa, just moving now. This is year 2 of our series. And so these are a chance to come together across the province. And for those of you who are joining us from elsewhere, you're of course welcome as well. And our series is called Engaging Middle Years Learners. And our hashtag is #MY Learners, because in middle years, we love a good hashtag. And today's theme is responsive teaching. And so we're going to delve into this, and this builds on last year. And I'm so delighted that Nikki Lynham is co-presenting with me today, and she'll be doing the third chunk in today's session. So we're super excited to have a math example embedded into the work. And you can see the dates on the poster. I would like to acknowledge that I'm joining you from the unceded territory of the Silks Okanagan peoples. I live, learn, and research together with the land, its inhabitants, the human and the more than human. One of my research partners is the Penticton Indian Band. I'm grateful and respectful of this place and the countless generations of Indigenous peoples who have cared for it. I acknowledge, respect, and honor the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. I'm going to talk a little bit on the next slide about going beyond the land acknowledgement. I just want to note that the two images I have on the screen represent what we now call British Columbia, but from an Indigenous perspective in our language groups. And so we can think about how are we doing this work, not just by giving an acknowledgement, but by going beyond the land acknowledgement. And so here are some questions I've been using with middle years classrooms for the last few months. So when I give an acknowledgement or there's an acknowledgement, we'd have a discussion. Why is this happening? Why are we having this acknowledgement? Why is this? What's the history of this territory? You can see that great little link right there in the slides, native-land.ca, which can take you to wherever you are to learn more about the place that where you are or that you're learning about. What's your relationship to this territory? Helps us think about the land as a sentient being, and we're learning with and engaging with the land. How did you come to be here? And then I love this last one. I love them all. What else can we do beyond an acknowledgement to honor and respect the land and Indigenous peoples? And so this just helps us think beyond giving an acknowledgement to think about how do we engage our learners and having conversations with us, not telling our learners, but engaging them in decolonizing practices. I'm going to keep rolling, everybody, but it's tempting to admit Loa Richardson into the room. I'll just do it myself. There we go. Come on in, Loa. Also embedded in today's and the other series in the webinars is we'll be using Liberating Structures. You're welcome to look up and learn some more about them, but we'll be using Conversation Cafe, Mad Tea, and Spiral Journal. And if you go to the slides, which will be posted on the SD61 website, you can click on each of those and they'll take you to a description of each of those strategies. But you'll experience them, so you'll know what they are. It's so much different doing it online. People aren't laughing. I'm not quite getting the feedback I'm used to. Sometimes I even wonder if my mic is on. I'm being recorded. And colleagues, this beautiful image was gifted to me by the Penticton Indian Band and Anona Campi, who is the cultural coordinator in SD67, as a representation of our key ideas from last year. So these take the big ideas from chapter 1 that we looked at last year as the focus of our series, just to ground ourselves in what are we talking about as a community of middle years educators. We're talking about collaboration between colleagues, collaboration with kids, collaboration with our community, and maybe we could start talking about collaborating with the land, right? Collaborating with our place. That we as middle years educators aren't here to teach kids stuff. We're here to value and nurture our kids, to help them grow who they are, not to make them into someone else, but to help them grow into their best selves. That we're really working to create active and personal learning for our middle years learners, because that's what they need. Alana Baker, your face just popped up, to engage folks together. Essentially, we're going to talk today around valuing diversity and how our pedagogical approaches are really to be an affirmation of diversity, but also to move us away from thinking they're other to we're all other. We all have a voice. All knowledges are important. We'll continue this year to talk about learning and teaching in multiple ways so that kids have access to the learning, not because they happen to be like the teacher and they learn that way, because we're offering ways based on who our kids are. We talked a lot last year about challenging and exploratory and integrative curriculum. You might even just call that cross-curricular, peeps, but with an inquiry tip, if you will. And then we'll continue to talk this year around using diverse kinds of assessment. We're gonna actually focus on that today. And I just want to end with this. Our commitment as middle years educators is to support our kids in developing healthy, affirmative identities. That no matter your gender, no matter your cultural background, no matter your faith background, where you're from, what your social economic status is, we see kids for what they bring and we celebrate what they have. It's not about calling kids and labeling kids in certain ways. It's about recognizing that identity is at the heart of middle years learning. And my responsibility as an educator is to help grow you into your best self, not change you into something else. Sometimes I just get verklempt. It also could be because I'm lonely and I just teach from my den for 12 hours a day. So peeps in the house, I'm just gonna call this the house. Oh, Melissa Burdock is in the waiting room. I'll let her in. There we go. South Okanagan in the house. So our focus for today's session is around responsive teaching, and chapter 3 of the middle years book that we did chapter 1 from last year. That is the focus. So we're really taking up that chapter 3. Alana, you know that chapter off by heart, but it really focuses on honoring our students for what they bring, nurturing and developing student growth, including identity development, and also adjusting our content and our practice based on who our learners are. Not thinking about the curriculum from the ministry says I teach this, but thinking about who are my learners and what can I draw from that with them, right? It really shifts from this notion of doing to learning from and learning with. And I just want to highlight for a moment here some of our really important voices of color who are doing this work and consciously trying to really read and acknowledge this work that is so influential, but sometimes doesn't get included in these sessions. So Gloria Ladson-Billings really is at the heart of this work, and her work with African-American kids and welcoming them into our classrooms is so important. A lot of this work is actually based on Paulo Freire, whose entire work was about not just reading words, but learning to read the world, empowering our kids as critical thinkers. Sarah Ahmed, who Vicky talked about last year, helping us think about helping our kids be change makers. And then I just wanted to also pop in disrupting thinking from Kylene Beers and Probst, which will really fit into our toolboxes as strategies that nurture thinking classrooms that position kids as not just learning about things, but really thinking about what they can do about things. With me so far? Okay, I'm gonna keep rolling. Oh, my voice goes up sometimes in an effort to engage people. Okay, here we go. So at the heart, Shelly Maloff is coming. How can I not let her in? There we go. Shelly's coming in. Wes Kootenays. So at the heart of this notion of responsive teaching is that we as educators are engaged in paying careful attention and deeply listening to our kids. And not just what they say, but what they offer. And so we're finding ways to seek out their perspectives and also welcome what they bring, what they know, what their backgrounds are. We're really seeking and welcoming. I'm just going to talk about 2 strategies in today's session that nurture that work that you can adapt for your own contexts. Also, this notion is around sharing responsibility for creating and adjusting our curriculum, right? Whatever we're learning from kids, we're adjusting the next day's lesson based on what we were noticing. So less around like today we're doing this versus where were we yesterday and how do we build on that today? How do I always welcome in what we've been doing and allow us to shape what we're doing together? And at its core, responsive teaching, it's an ethical practice, people. I'm going to use the word consent for a moment. We do a lot of things to kids. We don't often ask kids what they would like or say, would you like to learn this with me? And so as we build our spaces where we're learning and welcoming together, I have a colleague, Julie Hearn, who has a poster, or not a poster, a banner in her class who says, we are creating ourselves, right? And so welcoming kids to be part of that ownership. And then lastly, which we talked about a fair bit last year, using diversity positive language and diversity welcoming language. I want to just break the back of this notion of political correctness now and really suggest that what this work is doing is acknowledging our power as teachers to make a space that welcomes everyone. This isn't about political correctness. This is about affirming and recognizing that everybody should have power in the classroom, not just the guy who's 50 with a white beard, who some drag queens in Toronto called Santa. That was humor that no one picked up on. Thank you, Larissa. Unbelievable. Okay. You ready? You still with me? Hi, my name's Leighton, and I'll be with you. Oh, we're going into small groups in about 8 minutes. So let me just talk a tiny bit. This is one of my favorite strategies that I've picked up in the last 7 months. It's called the Spiral Journal, everyone. I've been using this at the beginning of the week or anytime I need to kind of ground my kids. And it's a voice welcoming strategy. It's a kid welcoming strategy, but it also empowers kids to have some ownership of their learning. So what you do is you take a piece of paper and you fold it in 4. You with me? Just theoretically, fold a piece of paper in 4 right now, everybody. Yeah, good job. And then I will be giving kids a prompt for each quadrant. We don't have quite enough time to do the strategy today, everybody, but I'll just describe it for you. But it's worth doing for yourself some mornings, folks. And then I give them about 2 minutes after a prompt to get their thinking down. But the very first thing I do is I start by drawing a spiral with my students in the center of their page. So I invite kids to take their pencil or their pen and put it right in the middle of the 4 quadrants. And then I just say, okay, kids, draw with me. I'm drawing alongside. Draw with me and just draw a tight little spiral. And as you draw your tight little spiral out, I just want you to know that we're so excited, that I'm so excited to have you in this class and all the ideas you bring. And no one has the thinking that you have. And so I just can't wait to see what you discover today and what your opinions and ideas are as we learn. Then I trace back the other way and I say, and also, we're heading towards the center now, everybody. I just want you to feel comfortable in supporting others today. You may be making space for others, giving them a turn, giving them a compliment, letting them know something that they did was powerful and something you learned from them. As we get back to the center, we take a nice deep breath in. We take a nice deep breath out. And I say, welcome to today, everybody. I'm so glad you're here, not just to learn for you, but to learn with each other. You with me, everybody? We're just building social emotional learning into the context. And then we do each quadrant for 1 to 2 minutes. So quadrant 1, hey, youths. Sorry, I have horrible humor with my middle years kids, but they love it in a hating kind of way. In your first quadrant, kids, what's some progress that you've made? Jot in your first what's some progress you've made this week, in school so far, over the weekend, and what we've been learning about. And kids can draw or jot or diagram some progress or some learning that they've made. Can you say what affirms kids as everybody's a learner? You may have missed 3 classes in a row. It doesn't matter. You've learned something. With me, people. And we call that the recognition quadrant. That's the recognition quadrant. Great. They get about 2 minutes to jot. Next quadrant. What are some things that you might need to accept or let go of, kids? What might you need to accept or let go of? Yes, you're going to have to put a mask on in the hall. Yeah. No one can sit on each other's lap during class. But you know what, everybody? You shouldn't be doing that anyway, grade 8s. Sorry, that was some grade 8 humor. You know, Mr. Stallard is my teacher and he's always going to be yelling while he teaches. I'm just going to have to accept that. But I make a space for kids to be and get their feelings into that space. Because we know if we can get out of the brainstem, the stress, and just put it down. Yeah, you had a fight with your girlfriend. Yeah, you forgot to have breakfast, whatever. Just get it down and let it go. You with me, everybody? We call that the grieving quadrant. You don't have to tell kids that. You should be grieving this quadrant, everybody. But it just makes a space for kids and where they're at to include that. With me so far? Thanks, Joy and Kimberly. All right. What are some important next steps for you? What are some important next, this is quadrant 3, right? I need to do my homework. I need to remember to take some breaths. I need to, whatever, you with me? It just gives kids a place to get whatever they need in terms of their next steps. You with me? I need to happy up. And we call that the action quadrant, everybody. The action quadrant. And finally, quadrant 4. What I hope can happen for me, for us today. It's really nice to go back out again, right? I want to feel known. I want to share something. I want to be connected. I want us to have a good day. I want us to feel safe, whatever that is. But each of these quadrants keep ownership for what's going on in kids' hands, and not just me as the leader, but me as almost the affirmer, the inviter. You with me, peeps? Yes. I've been doing this. Some classes I work with have been doing it every day. Some have been doing it once a week. Some have been doing it on Monday and Friday. But it feeds beautifully into circle pedagogy. If you go into circle after this, kids could share something. I just want them to know they're not handing it in. There's no right answer. but I want them to engage in whatever this is. And then lastly, oh, and here's a hint, teachers, you got to do it too. You can't ask kids to do something you're not willing to do yourself, right? Okay, and then I asked the kids to put a star beside anything that feels especially true for them right now. Great. And of course, Max is starring everything. Or Amanda's like, come on, Amanda, Ryda, you can star 2 things, kiddo, right? Come on. So I really just want to make this okay for my learners to have some ownership, but also to go back and be reflective about it. Okay, with me? It's called the Spiral Journal. It's an open-ended diversity positive strategy that helps kids engage as a community, but not just, engage individually, but also as a community. Faith-based folks in the house, can you see how this is not about religion, but it does welcome spirituality, right? It's holistic. It welcomes all kids and their backgrounds and where they're at and what they need. It's not telling kids who to be, it's welcoming them to be in our spaces. Okay, and then just one thing before I send you into a little chat. I'm not on time. I'll make up the time somewhere, friends. I just want to finish by talking about the class profile. This is in chapter 3 of both student diversity and it's all about thinking as a practice to help us think about our kids in ways that help us create curriculum based on who our learners are, not just something that we're supposed to teach. And so when we engage in this process, we're thinking about what are the strengths of my class that I have here? What are the stretches of the class as a whole? And then from that, what are some goals that I need to set, right? And just maybe 3 goals for the term that go across whatever I'm teaching. It also helps me think about the individual needs of my class. And so here's just a quick little example. This is from Stacey Wyatt's class. This example is actually in a book called It's All About Thinking in the Humanities. And in chapter 10, this is the English example. There's also a French example there for my immersion folks. So this particular class was social and helpful and really into accepting each other. They love to laugh. You ever had a class where they just like to laugh all the time? I quite like that class myself. Pretty cooperative. They're really into reading and writing. They might not be reading and writing at what we would call grade level, but they will take a crack at it. And because a lot of those kids have been together previously, there's also some trust there, and they're pretty good at making personal connections. However, it's actually quite a stretch for them to make inferences. To go beyond what they know is a challenge for this particular class. Developing independence, they're really connected to me as a teacher, but I kind of sometimes feel like I'm doing the organizing for them. Any teachers in the house have that experience? Yeah, and they're not super great at like organizing for learning. Also, they love to laugh, but they don't really stay, they don't focus their attention for super long. And their questions don't often go beyond the literal. And then when they're in conversation, sometimes they're just talking about, oops, it's coming, WWE. So when I looked at what these kids were interested in, here were kind of the patterns. Lots of sports-oriented kids. Lots of kids were into wrestling. Stacey and I did not know a lot about wrestling. Guess what we learned that year? We learned about wrestling because John Cena had to make his way into class at least once a week if we really wanted to hook him. They're actually interested in current events, even though they think about the literal. So that was this incredible opportunity to hook. And they were into the arts. Meeting these kids, you wouldn't have thought it, but they had a lot of interest. And then we also attended to, this is that chance to just kind of say what's going on in terms of the diversity of my class so that when I plan, I'm keeping this in mind. And so we set some goals. These are actually our goals for the year. We picked 3 of these to focus on for the term, but based on that, we said, if we focus on these few things and make that public with the kids, then we all get better at these things together. And you can see it had to be around independence, thinking, really focusing on main idea across things, but also helping them be metacognitive and reflective. And then we also thought, so then what are some decisions? What would we do for and with our kids to help them grow in these areas? And with that, my friends, I suggest that the class profile isn't something you just do in school. It's something where we're really thinking about what will my curriculum be if we really think of our kids as part of the curriculum, right? What do we need to focus on? If we focus on these few things everything will go better. The learning, the connection, how we're feeling, where we're going. But I'm going to tell you, I did a study with 40,000 kids in French and English a lot of years ago now. And the temptation as a teacher is to set 10 goals. Everything they need, you try to do. And we found in that study, the teachers who picked only approximately 3 things to focus on, the kids actually made more gains than the super keen teachers who try to do 10 things. So as Faye Brownlee would say, think big, start small. Work on a couple things and everybody becomes more competent. Try to do everything and a lot of people don't get better at much of anything. We are sending you into small groups, everyone, using a strategy, a liberating structure called Conversation Cafe. It's like being in a literature circle, everybody. So what's going to happen is there'll be about 4 or 5 of you in your group, and everybody gets a minute to share just their thinking. You need to time yourselves. If you're a loquacious person like me, you're going to need to have your timer because you'll take up somebody else's time. And then there'll be just a little bit of time for open discussion after everybody gets their minute. Here, you ready for the prompt? Is anybody still here? Hi, my name's Leighton. Welcome to the session. Jen Skelding. Hey, sister. Good to see you. Okay. We can be with our peeps online. So what connections can you make to your practice? When you think about responsive teaching and making our classrooms actually a curriculum with kids' funds of knowledge and building and learning and organizing, what comes to mind? You might even talk, if you want, about that strategy I just showed you, right? Spiral journal. So what connections can you make to your practice from our little opening? Have a good time. We will see you in 10 minutes. Everybody gets 1 minute to start. Remember, use your phone timer.